validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
I wasn't even ready for it. How y'all doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. Whew. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm exhausted. And it has been a hot August. I did tell y'all that it was going to stay hot through September, and it wasn't going to start cooling down because September is now the hottest month of the year. I've been saying that. But we're getting stuff done, making some progress. So I appreciate you guys for coming to the show here on This and That, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. We go live 7 nights a week. We do not let the sun rise without going live, but we don't always start on time, and that's why we ask you guys to like, subscribe, mash those reaction buttons while you're here, and then hit those notification buttons on the upcoming show so that you can be notified about the show when the show does go live, if we have any updates like we had yesterday at the top of the hour. Recognizing that we have different topics every night of the week. We have on Sundays, we have questions, comments from the fans. Mondays, we talk about business and politics and how politics negatively impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. Then on Tuesdays, we discuss different ways to make, save, and invest money. Wednesdays, we talk about different ways to potentially go to other countries and live and also potentially invest in other countries. Now, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, today being Friday. I had to think about that for a second. Today being Friday. We talk about socialization, negotiations, sometimes relationship topics, self-improvement, personal development, building your brand for the most part. Then we also discuss with you guys different ways to work on your ability to promote yourself for promotions, raises, retirement, forced retirement, severance packages, termination. And then we talk to you guys about your 20-30 year plan, because, you know, wherever you want to be at in life is going to be hinged upon what you got to do today to get there. So most of us live a reactionary life where we get up every day because we have to go to work, which is a reaction. We go to work and do whatever needs to be done on the job, which is a reaction. Then we come back to the house and we do whatever has gotten done at the house, which is a reaction. And we spend whatever money that we have on whatever needed to be paid for, which is a reaction. And then we hope that we have enough money to last us to our next paycheck, which is yet again another reaction. At no point do we ever stop and think about what changes can we make and what improvements can we look forward to in order to see something different happen out of our life. A lot of us believe that while we have a lifestyle that we're not 100% satisfied with, that it's going to improve, it's going to get better, it's not always going to be like this. But we very rarely stop and think exactly what are we doing to change that. So if, like a science experiment, the things that you do to get the results that you have are done on a regular basis, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a new result is actually kind of like the definition of insanity. You cannot get a new outcome out of the same experiment if you don't change the variables. You have to do something different. So here on This and That, we talk about a lot of different ways that you can change the things that are going on in your life. And we talk about everything from all the stuff that you could change in your business life to all the stuff that you could change in your personal. So today, our shows today was supposed to be talking about the 22 frugal life hacks that keeps money in your pocket, which a lot of us spend money because we have money, not because we need to spend the money. And there are a lot of different ways that we can change that, which would give us a lot more money in our pockets to invest. It'll give us a lot more money in our pockets to save. It'll give us a lot more money to hold on to for emergencies. And it would actually be a lot larger of a buffer between the things we expected to do and the things we weren't expecting to have happen, and enough money to cover the spread, right? So if you guys change the way you look at life and change the way you look at money and change the way you look at your priorities, the things that you need versus the things that you can benefit from versus the things that you want. Now, the difference between the things that you benefit from, because they could be classified as a need, but it's a need that you don't need right now, right? Versus things that you just want, where you don't need it, you just want it. We recognize that there's a difference between those. And the things that you kind of need, but you don't need it right now, are things that you can put off until later and kind of budget to go get, versus the things that you need right now where you're not going to be able to function without it. Let's say, for example, the difference between needing more groceries in the house because you ran out of groceries in the house versus, say, I don't know, needing, I can't even think of a need that could actually be delayed. Oh, extra rolls of toilet paper. You got some in there, but you know, you don't have as many as you'd like. You could go and buy some later. But I mean, if you're going through a couple of rolls a month or less, and you've got like 3 rolls in there, you don't need to run out there and go buy you another 20 pack because you're not down to your last roll. That's like something that you can benefit from, having extras on hand, but just like running out there and going and getting it because you're down to 3 rolls is not a necessity. It's not like you really need it right now. You can delay it and budget it based off of your usage quantity, versus something that you want, like, you know, a new Rolex or something wild like that. Like, there's things that you don't necessarily need to go get. Or let's be more realistic, something that you might want, like a new TV, because you don't like the old one. You don't need a new TV if you have a TV that's functioning, right? So we want to change our mindset from the things that we don't need, which are luxuries in life, the things that we need to have or we can reasonably benefit from, that we can budget to get, versus the things that we absolutely must get right now. And that actually aids us in our ability to find more discretionary spending, because if you are able to invest in ways where your money is making money for you, you can factor in all of the things that you need and the majority of the things that you benefit from into a monthly budget. And then you can build extra money on the side that can lead you to the capabilities of being able to afford to buy some of the things that you want. It's not going to make you $1 million overnight, but it will provide you with a lot more financial relief, and it'll provide you with a lot more stress relief. So on tonight's show, since we're supposed to be talking about some of the frugal things that you guys can do to make things a little bit better for yourselves, what if the biggest thing standing between you and the financial freedom isn't your income or the economy that we're dealing with right now? What if it's just a single, deeply ingrained misunderstanding? It's the belief that to get ahead with money that you have to live smaller, sadder lives, not having everything that you would preferably want, almost living like a monk. That's not true. I know we've been taught that building wealth means clipping every coupon, watering down the soap, saying no to everything that brings you joy. Basically, that to save money, you have to be cheap. And that's fundamentally a lie. That's completely untrue. It's a story cooked up by a consumer culture that needs you to keep spending. And that method and mentality doesn't serve. The truth is, frugality, true frugality, has almost nothing to do with being cheap. Cheap is all about price. It's a fear-based reaction that chases the lowest number on the tag, no matter the cost to the quality of the product or your time or even your relationships. Frugality, on the other hand, is about true value, right? It's going to be about being strategic, resourceful, and intentional with every single dollar you have. It's not about deprivation. It's about making sure that your spending actually reflects your values and a lot of your biggest goals. It's not about spending as little as possible. It is about spending with absolute precision. So this isn't a system of sacrifices. It's a framework for allocations towards your resources. They're going to be designed not to shrink your life, but to blow the doors off your freedom and your wealth. So today we're going to be dismantling that myth of deprivation and rebuild your understanding of money from the ground up. It's almost like we talked about this on the show once before, the difference between buying a name brand pair of shoes simply because of the brand versus buying an unnamed brand pair of shoes of the same quality for 10% of the price of the branded shoe. Or the difference between buying a quality pair of shoes that costs more money than the cheap shoe, while the cheap shoes, low quality, would require you to buy 10 pairs of the same shoe for the same price as one pair of the quality shoe. Those are both scenarios where if you're buying for the brand, not for the quality, you could overpay for a quality product versus if you're buying cheap, low quality product just because it's cheap over buying a quality durable product where you would be spending more money on both scenarios. Because like a $300, $350 pair of Jordans, which is the same as a $35 pair of Nikes, you're paying 10 times more than what you should be for the same shoe, while you could find yourself buying a lower quality shoe that is so much unbranded because it's cheap, and the difference between paying for 5 pairs of a $20 shoe that you could have ultimately paid $35 for a pair of Nikes, you would have ultimately paid way more money for the lower quality shoe. So we're going to be talking about balance between the two. But before we even get to budgets or cutting costs anywhere, we got to start with the mindset, because in order for you to improve the way you handle money, you have to change the way you think about money. So without the right philosophies, any attempt to change your financial habits is going to be doomed, because you're going to always fall back into your core setup. It's going to feel like a chore or a punishment if you're not changing your mindset. Something that you have to endure rather than something that you need to embrace, or something that you would choose to embrace. So the core philosophy of frugality rests on one powerful idea, which is opportunity cost. Okay. Now, every dollar you have holds more than just its face value. It holds potential. It's a seed, right? You can eat that seed now for a quick moment of satisfaction, short-term gratification, or you can plant that seed, long-term satisfaction. A dollar spent on a coffee that you'll barely remember is a dollar that can't be invested in an asset that grows while you sleep. Nevertheless, a coffee that is made at the house is far cheaper than a coffee that is made out at a restaurant, or Starbucks, or whatever. A dollar spent on fast fashion shirts that falls apart is a dollar that can't be used to pay down the high interest credit cards that's been quietly eating you alive, where the interest saved on those high credit cards could be utilized to buy a higher quality shirt. Frugality is just being constantly aware of the trade-offs. It's looking at a purchase and seeing not just the price, but the future freedom that you're trading for the purchase for today. This leads right into the second mental shift, embracing delayed gratification. Special shout out to OG Kicks from the YouTube side of things. Now, our world is an engine of right now. One click buy now, pay later, ads that follow you around are all engineered to short circuit the rational part of your brain. And when I tell you ads that follow you around these days on social media, you might be listening to this podcast about certain things, and then some of the topics that we talk about might lead to, when you go to a different website, those exact same items are popping up on ads, trying to convince you to short sale, fire sale, purchase certain products, right? You're not truly interested in that information, but the dynamic is that your cell phone is designed to procure data from the microphone and the camera, all of your searches, all of your lingerings, and generate information that would lead you to being trying to be sold on a specific product based on the things you click on, right? Based on the places that you go. Flop cameras are going to work towards that data as well, right? They want to trigger an emotional impulsive reaction. Now, the impulse is supposed to be towards spending. That often comes from that primitive emotional part of our brain. While rational thinking takes a little more effort, frugality is simply the discipline of creating a pause, a deliberate space between the impulse and the action. And this will let you guys utilize your rational brain and catch up with the impulse of you making that specific purchase. It's training yourself to value long-term stability way more than short-term pleasure. But, and this is going to be the most important part, this doesn't mean that you eliminate your joy. in order to accomplish it. It means that you prioritize. So this is going to be the third pillar: efficiency over deprivation. A cheap person cuts costs everywhere, no questions asked. They buy scarcity, awful toilet paper. They skip their friend's wedding to save money on the plane ticket. They create a life of self-imposed misery. Right? That's not what we're talking about here. A frugal person does the exact opposite. They're selective. They'll figure out what parts of their life brings them the least genuine value, and they ruthlessly cut waste in those areas. So maybe you don't care about the latest smartphone, so you use your perfectly good one for 5 years instead of 2. Maybe you find cooking at home relaxing, so you slash your restaurant spending by 80%. Right? This creates a huge surplus of resources, money, time, and mental energy that you can then point wherever you want it at. You can put it into whatever you want to put it into. You cut aggressively where you could care less about not having that, so that you can spend extravagantly and guilt-free where you care the most. Maybe that's travel and hobbies, or treating your family to an incredible experience. You know, say for example, I might not get the valet parking, but I might get a more luxurious room at the hotel, right? Or depending on where we are, we're going to a restaurant or a nightclub or something to that effect. I might benefit from disabled tags on my vehicle and skip paying for VIP parking because one of the VIP parking spaces is a handicap space. So I could just park my car there by default and not have to pay the charge, right? Saving money in certain places. Frugality isn't about saying no to everything. It is about saying a loud yes to the things that truly matter and funding those yeses by getting rid of the mindless automatic spending that doesn't matter. It's sustainable because it's not about restriction. It's about alignment, right? Michael brings us, special shout out to Michael from the YouTube side of things. He says, The Philosophy of Money by George Sinmel. 1, money value. 2, money and freedom. 3, personal value. 4, style and life. 5, social effects of money. Okay, that's a good concepts. That's some pretty good concepts. I don't think those are the ones that I'm going to be talking about today, but I mean, they might kind of blend in to what we were talking about at some point. But that's a good book to read. So, if philosophy is going to be the why, the budget is going to be the how. But again, let's be honest, the word budget itself has a serious PR problem. Because for most of us, it brings up feelings of being restricted, of being told what you cannot do, like a financial diet that you're bound to fail. That's wrong, and you shouldn't see it that way. A budget isn't a punishment. It's a decision framework. It's the most powerful tool that you have for turning your financial life from a series of unconscious reactions into a set of deliberate, intentional choices. So you want to think of your income as a team of employees. Every month, you get a fresh team ready to work for you, right? So if you don't give them specific jobs, what do you think happens? They wander off. They follow the scent of convenience. They get lured away by clever marketing or cave to social pressures. At the end of the month, you're looking at your bank account and wondering, where did it all go? A budget is just giving every single dollar a job before the month even starts. And this is going to be the idea behind a zero-based budget, right? Michael says budgeting is like a coat. You wear it inside out. I guess that's a good way to look at it. That's interesting. I have never heard that saying before. To me, I would say that if you look at budgeting like a chore chart, if you were the kind of family that grew up, you had siblings and your parents had a chore chart where they wrote down everything that needed to be done in the house, and you assigned certain kids to do certain chores on certain days of the week, and you would rotate out who would do what chore on which day of the week. The chore chart would be the total quantity of money that you have, and who does what would be where the money would be allocated to. And while you're not depriving yourself of anything, you are making sure that what comes in directly goes to what you want it to go to. And if you don't have a line item for that particular scenario, you would fundamentally not spend unallocated capital on a new impulsive item that you have yet to find value in. So if you've already got a chore chart of things that you want to have accomplished, other things that are not on that chart, you must determine, is it necessary for me to add that in? And then how are we going to separate the time to get that done? So, while I guess I guess we could use yours, budgeting is like a coat, you wear it inside out. It's not a restrictive coat, it's designed to protect you in ways that you're not used to because you usually don't wear a coat, right? So the formula for zero-based income, zero-based budgeting is going to be income minus expenses equals zero. Now that doesn't mean that you have $0 left. It means that every dollar has a purpose. Some dollars are assigned to paying rent. Others are told to buy groceries. A crucially big chunk of the money might be assigned to jobs like paying down debt, investing in index funds, building emergency funds, stuff to that effect. By pre-allocating your money, you get rid of the gray area. Now, when you're in a store looking at something that you don't really need, the question isn't a vague, can I afford it? Because remember what me and Michael was talking about a few weeks ago, the difference between budgeting and saving. Saving is when you're saving up an unspecified quantity of money for any reason under the sun that is beneath the value of that money. So if you're trying to save $25,000 and then you say, well, I need to buy something that costs $500. Well, what will happen is that your because you have more than $500 saved, you can take that $500, you want to buy the item that you're looking at. But let's say that you're trying to buy save $25,000, or not save, but you're budgeting $25,000 for a specific line item, like a car. And now say you want to buy a custom pair of Jordans for $500. Your impulse to buy that custom pair of Jordans for $500 has nothing to do with the 25 grand that you're saving for the car. The difference between budgeting and savings, budgeting is not saying that you can take whatever available capital that is currently saved and use it for anything. The line item that it is dedicated to is what it's supposed to be spent on. And if you don't have a line item for it, something that you want, even if you have extra money there for something else, that money isn't for the one thing that you want, because you don't need that, right? Michael says income is a positive and debt is a negative. yes, if you're budgeting or doing a balance sheet or balance, because a lot of kids don't know anything about a checkbook, balancing your checkbook, the money coming in is always going to be a positive value, and the money coming out is always going to be a negative value. Steven says, I bought a pair of Jordans because I can't afford them. I have never bought a pair of Jordans because I can't find the value in them. I actually can find more value in a pair of Timberland boots than I can find in a pair of Jordans. Just to be honest with you. But I can also find equivalent value in a pair of steel toe boots from Walmart. That again, I can find more value in that than what I can find in a pair of Jordans. You know, but that's going to be basically because the people who buy Jordans as a fashion statement. I buy shoes for practicality. Exactly, boots. Boots are going to be made for work shoes. Work shoes is you're not going to work with Jordans on. You know, because if you drop something on your shoe, that shoe is done. You know, depending on what you drop, your foot might be done. So the steel toe shoes is not made from Jordans. You know, Nike does. Nike might make steel toe shoes. I just haven't seen any. It's just, you know, the what I'm going to be using the shoes for. It makes no sense to go and buy Jordans, right? So when you are in a store looking at something, it is not about can you afford it. It's going to become very real. Which jobs do you have to fire your dollars from to pay for the item that you want? Because if all of your money is allocated towards something specific, everything has a purpose. So now you have to ask yourself, what do I want to get rid of in order to get this? Are you taking the money from your retirement, from your vacation fund, from your debt repayment plan, from your student loan plan? Where are you taking it from? All of a sudden, the true cost of the item isn't the price tag. It's the goal that you have to sacrifice in order to achieve getting that impulsive payment now. A budget is like a steering wheel for your money. Without the steering wheel, you just drift, pushed around by emotion, habit, peer pressure. With a budget, you decide the direction. You're totally in control. But a steering wheel doesn't do any good if you only grab it once a month. That's why regular check-ins is absolutely essential. A weekly review, even for just 15 minutes, lets you catch overspending before it snowballs. It lets you see in near real time how your choices are lining up with your ultimate plans. And it turns the budget from a dusty document that you made on the first of the month into a living, breathing guide for your daily life. See, Michael's wasteful. He doesn't have a budget. He says that he just walks in and says, I'll take that. But you're like 71 years old. You're retired. You've already built your estate over the last 100 years. You've got your retirement plan all together. You've got extra money to spend on impulse buying. You take what you don't like anymore, you put it back up for sale and try to turn a profit off of it. So you've already got a system set in place that allows for you to walk into some place where you've already found the value in that item before you even walked into the building, and then you're able to say that I'll take that. But the average person who does not have their life established yet, who's trying to get life established, doesn't have that capability. They typically have more expenses to pay for than they have money coming in, and they have to decide what things do they need to pay for versus the things that they want to pay for that they're trying to hold on to that they don't actually really benefit from and they don't actually need. Michael says, every mistake he's talking about, I agree. I too fall into every trap growing up. Of course, over 70-something years, you learn from your mistakes. You've made it to the finish line, but the last 30 years of your life out of a 100-year lifestyle, you know, that's the bottom 25%. Isn't that what I tell you guys on a regular basis? Is that it takes a man 3/4 of his life to make it to the level that he's satisfied in, so that he can spend the last quarter of his life enjoying it. You're on the last quarter of your life enjoying it. But for those of us that are on the first half, still trying to get it right before we get into quarter three, hopefully, it's a whole lot different. You know what I mean? The decisions that we're making right now is totally conditional to our ultimate long-term success. So people who constantly track their spending have way more success with their financial goals, not because they love spreadsheets, but because they created a feedback loop. They see the cause and the effect between their habits and their progress. They can spot categories where spending is creeping up and then trim them before they become a problem. A budget isn't a cage, it's a map. It doesn't limit your freedom, it's a tool that creates your freedom. So once you have a budget, you can see exactly where your money is going. Now, the real work of optimization is going to begin. And this is going to be where most people make a huge mistake. They start with small stuff. They try to cut their daily lattes, agonize over 50-cent coupon, and feel guilty for buying a brand name cereal. Look, being mindful of small purchases is fine, but it is not where the big wins are. The place to create immediate and lasting change is by slashing your large, fixed, reoccurring costs. Think about it like cutting a one-time expense, saving you money once, or cutting a reoccurring monthly bill, saving you money every single month forever. That savings compounds quietly in the background, permanently improving your cash flow. And we're going to be talking about things like your rent, your mortgage, car insurance, cell phone plans, internet bill, and that growing mountain of subscriptions that you guys apply to. These costs often rise over time through lifestyle creep or subscription bloat. And we stop noticing them because they're on auto pay. They just become background noise. And I got to tell you, when you first start trying to get your finances under control, the first thing you're going to do is turn off auto pay on the majority of the stuff that you got going on. And you're going to dial it back to only having auto pay for the reoccurring bills that you actually need. For those of you that pay your rent online and you have auto pay set up for that, that might be a mandatory. Your car insurance might be on auto pay. Your phone bill might be on auto pay. You might have the minimum balance that you're going to be paying on your credit card on auto pay, so that you can then overpay on your credit card on top of that. But then that should kind of be where it stops at. You might have your lights, water, gas bill on auto pay, right? But after your primary utility bills, your primary bare necessity, like if all else fails, all of this stuff must get paid items, that might be the stuff that just stays on auto pay, but then everything else comes off of auto pay, right? Michael says, cutting the fat off of the bone. Well, it's not necessarily cutting the fat off of the bone per se. That's a good metaphor for this. It is actually strategically cutting off the meaningful fat, because you have good fats and you have bad fats. And for us, the bad fats is the fats that we don't need. The good fats are the fats that we benefit from, that we burn off and turn into muscle. So we want to strategically design our budget to focus on the stuff that we do not need being removed versus the stuff that we do need to stay, which frees up more money that we can spend on more of the things that we want that meaningfully benefits us. Michael says, open the front door and throw that no good guy out of your house. If you got an extra person in your house that's wasting money, yeah, you should probably open the door and throw them out. If you would have had them under contract, you put them on a performance contract. If you don't perform, you can't be here. He says you'll save 50% of your money. Not necessarily, because if you're talking about a girl in a relationship, she actually benefits from 23% of his income. So if she throws him out, she's going to take a financial loss. So he could be no good because he's not doing what she wants him to do while still being financially beneficial. Now, if it's a dude throwing out a roommate where you guys split everything 50-50 and that person's not carrying their weight, then yeah, you would save 50%. If it was a dude throwing out a chick that's not carrying her weight in a relationship, he would actually be gaining 41% of his money back because he spends 41% on his woman. She benefits from 23% of that. The other 18% of that is just entertainment that makes her happy and makes her smile, that she doesn't benefit from in her life. But there's no financial gain that a man has from bringing a woman into his life. And she actually costs money. But a man never costs a woman money. He might cost her time. He might cost her patience. He might cost her energy, but he never cost her money, right? Michael says, okay, you're going on the money diet. Well, it's not a diet. It's a reallocation of value. Because so a diet is going to be a restriction that's going to take you out of a gluttony or an abundance lifestyle. And that's not what we're doing. We're reallocating. So like, for example, if you were having, let's say, a food diet, you could have the type of meal plan that includes a large quantity of snacks and junk food, right? Now, if you were trying to lose weight, you would not go on a restrictive diet of rice cakes and, lentils. Instead, you would redirect your finances from buying all of the snacks and junk food and start buying the type of food that meaningfully impacts your diet. Chicken, beef, pork chops, home cooked meals. You would stop eating junk food and you would start eating foods that would build muscle, that would reduce unnecessary fat. It would increase your protein. It would increase the fiber in your diet so that you can have a better, healthier body. And that's kind of how we're doing. We're not using a money diet as a restriction. We are reallocating your cash to something that you value more than the stuff that you allow your cash to leave the door with. Big difference. So the first step is going to be an audit. So you want to print out your last 3 months of bank statements and credit card statements, and you want to grab and highlight. And for every single reoccurring charge, you want to find like what it is, where it comes from, where it's going. So I promise you that you're going to find at least one, if not more, subscriptions that you forgot about. Something that was supposed to be a free service, that was supposed to be like a trial period that you forgot about, and then you realize, oh, I'm still using that, or I'm still accessing it, and they're still charging for it. You're going to see services that you don't even use anymore. So outside of the free trials, things that quietly started charging you money, because a lot of times a free trial requires you to set up your credit card on file, and then after you set the credit card up on file, you can start using it for free. You tell yourself, I'm using it right now for whatever purpose I'm using it for, and then I'm going to cancel it before it charges me. The trial period is so long, you forget that the trial period is there, and then you forget to cancel it. The way I forgot to touch base on that stock party that Stephen told me about a couple days ago, so I'm going to have to do that as soon as I get off the show today. You got a burglar at the house? No, I don't have a burglar at the house. I have a service animal that alerts when people are passing through. So somebody is in a neighborhood that ultimately has no movement. And they just realized that that dog is not tied up, so they kept it moving. But we've got the switch nearby, so if I have to let the podcast continue while I live go out there and take down whatever's in the yard, it'll be one of those George Zimmerman situations. I'm gonna call it self-defense. They're gonna look like RoboCop. So one of the things you're gonna do is, as you find these reoccurring subscriptions for things that you don't utilize, you're gonna cancel them on the spot. That's gonna be the easiest part. You're freeing up money by canceling. Because think about it, you might have like Hulu, you might have Stars, you might have Premium, you might have SoundCloud, Spotify, Pandora, Disney Plus, YouTube, Netflix. You might have all of these different subscriptions running, but you can only watch one of them at a time, right? So a lot of them, when you think about how often do you use that particular thing, you might have got it for the one movie you wanted to get. You might have got it for the one song you wanted to download. And after that, you don't use it no more, right? Which means that you can do away with that because you wanted it in the moment, but you don't really need that. The more powerful move is to negotiate. A lot of people don't realize that prices for cable, internet, and cell phone plans are often negotiable. I spent like 2 years getting 50% off of my bill because I negotiated it with my phone company. These companies would rather give you a discount than lose you to a competitor. The subscription is simple. Call their customer service or retention department and, hi, I've been a customer for a while and my bill has gotten a bit high. I need to lower my monthly expenses. What can you do for me? Be polite and firm. Mention competitor offers that are cheaper than the one that they're offering for the same quantity of service, because you don't want to talk about like a base plan that has none of the amenities that you're paying for. You're looking for a competitor that has everything that you're using plus probably more stuff for a cheaper price. You want to mention that to them. More often than not, a loyalty discount will magically appear out of nowhere. A 15-minute phone call could potentially save you $30 a month, putting an extra $360 in your pocket every year. That's not a one-time win. That is an annuity that you just created for yourself. And I'm telling y'all, look, I was for a long period of time getting blood from a turnip on that one, because I was getting $150 a month taken off of my $300 a month phone bill. And after they realized exactly how long they had been giving me that discount, they just ultimately shaved my bill down to $250. So I'm still getting all the same services that I was getting when it was almost $330 a month, but I'm now paying only $250 a month. After saving a year's worth of service over the course of 2 years. That same logic can apply to your car insurance. You shop around for auto insurance, home insurance every single year. Loyalty is rarely rewarded here. New customers often get the best rates. So getting quotes online can take less than an hour and save you hundreds, if not thousands, a year for the exact same coverage. With a mortgage, it's a little bit harder to do than a car insurance, because with a mortgage, you have to make sure that you have the minimum quantity of coverage that your mortgage requires in order for them not to call the loan. But as long as you're getting the exact same coverage or more than what you had with your previous insurance company, you're capable of getting a cheaper price for the same amount of stuff, or getting more stuff for the same amount of value, the same cost. And you can just provide the new insurance companies to your mortgage company. Michael says, on average, each person wastes around $27 a day, and that could be invested. That's true. He said, I was poor being young. I had your rolls of quarters for hookers. Yeah. But back in your day, quarters was a lot of money. These days, quarters ain't nothing. Back in the day, you could fill your get back in what was like 60s and 70s when you could fill your tank for a quarter. Shit, you had rolls of quarters. You were balling back in the day. Today, you go and talk about someone I'm trying to put a quarter in my gas tank. The gas station attendant gonna be looking at you like, really? That's barely gonna turn the pump on. Also, think about one-time upgrades that give back forever. This is going to be where the frugal mindset really shines. A cheap person sees an LED light bulb and says, why pay more for one light bulb when the old one is cheaper? A frugal person sees that same LED light bulb and says, well, the light bulb uses around 75% less energy and lasts over 10 times longer. This is an investment that will pay for itself and then keep saving me money for the next decade, right? And imagine this, say, because most of y'all already got light bulbs in your house, but they're not all energy efficient light bulbs. If you upgraded all the light bulbs in your house to energy efficient light bulbs, but instead of throwing out the old light bulbs, you held the old light bulbs for emergency replacements. Now, you got your house full of energy efficient light bulbs, you're going to see a reduction in your light bill. Shit, my light bill last month was $67. In the summertime. Now, you'll turn to find out that, if one of the light bulbs go out and you don't have a surplus of energy efficient light bulbs laying around, you can take one of the light bulbs that you have, the older ones, put it back in until you get enough money to buy a replacement light bulb. This prevents you from doing without the particular light bulb that went out, but it also allows for you to balance and budget and preserve the resources you already have. The same can go for weather sealing your doors, adding insulation, or installing a programmable thermostat. Instead of having that old school thermostat that just keeps running until you go over there and manually change it, if you upgrade to a programmable thermostat or a thermostat that works with your cell phone, you can actually be in the bed, pick up your cell phone, because most people sleep with their cell phone, and use your thermostat app to change your thermostat, program your thermostat to automatically turn on at a certain time of day right before it starts getting hot, and turn off at a certain time of day right before it starts getting too cold, so that you're keeping your house at a certain regulated temperature without exhausting the quantity of resources that you're utilizing to maintain that temperature in the house. These aren't expenses, they're investments in efficiency that pay dividends every month. I was in a relationship back in 2009, and I had showed her, because she had a central air and heat thermostat. I had programmed her thermostat to, because we left the house, turn off at a certain time when we should have already been gone from the house during the time of day where it would likely get the hottest. Then about an hour before the first person would come back to the house, the air conditioner would come on and bring the temperature down to its appropriate levels. And we both came back in the evening times. When we came back, the house was cool overnight. We were also utilizing electricity outside of peak times. In the daytime, it was off when nobody was there. Why waste utilities on keeping the house regulated at 69 degrees during a time of day when I'm not home? That saves a substantial quantity of money on the electric bill, because not only would you be utilizing it during peak times, you'll be utilizing it during the hottest parts of the day, which would cost you more money to keep the temperature of the house at the same temperature that it would have been overnight. You need it to be at a comfortable temperature when you're home, right? Well, the average cost of a regular light bulb is $3, but nowadays, when you're looking at the energy efficient light bulbs, the average cost of a light bulb might be a little bit more than that, depending on the light bulb and depending on where you get it from. So by focusing on these big reoccurring expenses first, before you start shaving your lattes off, before you start, And when we start thinking about a latte, instead of getting your latte from McDonald's or Starbucks or something like that, and you say, well, I'm going to shave this latte off and then uh, never get a latte ever again and deprive yourself of the actual latte. Think about the ingredients of the latte and then tell yourself, all right, let's go to Walmart or Publix or something and go and buy the ingredients for the latte and make it at my house. Or if there's certain ingredients that I really don't need and I can just really get me just a reasonably flavored LED, not LED, reasonably flavored coffee, I can just, buy the ingredients, make the coffee at my house. And 36-ounce cup of coffee might cost me 97 cents to make at my house instead of $15 to make it at Starbucks. He says, my cost for that light bulb is 50 cents. Well, if you bought the light bulbs a long time ago, it might be 50 cents. But truth be told, these days, especially after the tariff happened, those light bulbs are nowhere near 50 cents. You said LEDs. Yeah, the LEDs are going to be more, but the LEDs are going to be more than $3 too, because the LEDs, sometimes they might sell them in a 4-pack for like $6, but sometimes you'll find them way more than that. Like I said, depending on where you're getting them from, and depending on, because you have different watt bulbs. That's another thing you have to think about, Michael, because not all of the bulbs are the same wattage. We grew up on 40, 60, 75, and 100-watt light bulbs. Dim, not so dim, sort of bright, and really bright, right? Now we have energy efficient light bulbs that are white light, natural light, other such, where they could effectively be 60 or 70 white light bulbs that are pure white versus the yellowish brown light, which will take a different quantity of energy to produce that particular type of light. We have heating lights versus non-heating lights, where the energy being produced from that particular light raises the temperature in that room, which even if you're using the lights at nighttime, the house will be hotter and you would be burning more electricity to cool the room off because the lights are on in the room. So the depending on what light you get, it might cost you more. He says, where I get them? Garage sales. Well, most people don't, like I said before, most people don't get them from garage sales. Most people get their brand new light bulbs from buying them online, getting them shipped to the house, or picking them up at Walmart while they're grocery shopping. And they're not 50 cents a bulb. You can go buy you a used light bulb from a garage sale or an estate sale or something like that, probably for 50 cents, but you're not getting brand new light bulbs from most places around the world for 50 cents. It just doesn't happen. Infrared lampos? No, not infrared, because I don't see anybody benefiting from an infrared light. But white lights, you might have like the color changing lights that might have like the mood lighting kind of thing that comes with a little remote or something like that. But and I got a bunch of those in here, which again contributes to a lot of the reason why the light bill is cheaper. But when you're doing this, you're saving money and you're actually creating a larger quantity of capital, but you don't need daily willpower for this. This isn't like I got to refrain from getting my Chick-fil-A. That's not what this is about, right? This is about investing in things that automatically save you money because you spent money on that. You make one decision, you have one conversation, and the benefit cascades indefinitely. There's no budget category where emotions, convenience, and habit collide more than your food, though, which is why we started talking about that. It is a top 3 expense for most households, right up there with housing and transportation. And it's by far the most variable. That volatility makes it one of the easiest places to overspend without even realizing. The entire modern food system, from grocery store layouts to delivery apps, is designed to make you choose impulse and convenience. Frugality offers a simple antidote. Just reverse the decision-making process. Instead of asking, what do I feel like eating right now? A question that almost always leads to expensive takeout. The frugal approach is to ask, what's the most cost-effective and efficient way to feed myself this week? Now, this shift from reactive to proactive is everything. And it's built on a few key tactics. First, and most importantly, meal planning. Instead of impulse buying when you're starving, you are planning what you're going to be eating throughout the week ahead of time. Now, this sounds tedious, but it doesn't have to be a rigid schedule. At its simplest, it just means deciding what's for dinner for the next 5 to 7 days. You should already know this. If you're one of those people, like I told you guys yesterday, the day before, you cook in bulk at the house. You portion them out into little Tupperware containers. You put the little Tupperware containers into the fridge. When you go back to get something to eat tomorrow, the next day, you pull it out of the fridge, put it into the microwave, and heat it up. You already know what you're eating because you cooked it a few days ago, right? No, Michael, it wouldn't be that. Michael coming up with left field stuff right now. But just figuring out what you need for the next 5 to 7 days, that would make the most sense. But that's all you're trying to do. This simple act has a massive ripple effect because once you know what you're making, you can now create a shopping list. Shopping with a list is a superpower because it's a shield against the psychological tricks of the grocery store. The impulse buys at checkout, the special offers on things that you don't really need, that you now decide that you want because you just realize that it's there, not because you see it missing out of your house. When you go in with a mission, this is how men go shopping over what women usually do, because women just wander around and browse, window shop, browse your things. And that's not what we do. We go in specifically to get a certain quantity of things and specifically come right back out. And that's it. The majority of us get hooked on that long line at the register where all of these extra snacks and drinks and other such stuff is right there by the register. And we'll grab one more thing before we go to check out. But if you go in there with a mission, you get what's on the list, you get out, that's all you're grabbing. This habit alone can slash 10 to 20% off your grocery bill overnight. Because instead of just wandering around the store looking at what's good, what's interesting, which could be anything, including non-grocery items, you walked in there with the expectation to get like 5 things that came out with 500. Instead, you're going in there replenishing what's missing from the house, or if you plan on cooking something specific, only buying the items for that particular meal plan that you're trying to work on. The second tactic is batch cooking, as I told you already. The logic is undeniable. The cost per meal plummets when you're cooking in bulk. It's going to take about the same amount of time and energy to cook 1 serving of chili as it does to cook 10 servings of chili. By dedicating a few hours, 1 or 2 days out of the week, maybe on a Sunday or at least your off day, to prep big batches of staples like grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, or a big pot of soup, you create a food bank in your own refrigerator. And this makes eating at home so much easier. So when you get home late, tired and hungry, the choice is no longer between cooking for 45 minutes or spending $25 on Uber Eats. It's between assembling a great meal in 5 minutes from your prepped food or spending $25. And the difference between food prepped and pre-portioned out meals is the food prep, you might have to spend 5 minutes to put it together, where a pre-portioned out meal, you might have to put it in a microwave for 3 minutes and just eat it. Batch cooking systematically dismantles the appeal of expensive conveniences. Michael says $100 doesn't get very much food today. I feel in less than 3 years, that amount will be even less. Uh, that depends on what you're buying. That depends on what you're buying. Because right now, there are TV dinners that are like $1.87 a piece. 100 of them would be like $187, which would be a little under $200 for 100 TV dinners. 100 TV dinners, if you ate them at, 3 TV dinners a day, you would be going through 30 TV dinners every 10 days, which would take you about um, to get to 100, it'd take you about 40 days roughly to eat 100 TV dinners. So for those people who are spending $400 or $500 on food, simply switching over to $102 TV dinners could cut your spending in half. Now, let's say for those of us that eat a lot more than everybody else, wrap your mind around the fact that if you were eating 2 of those TV dinners at a time, you're eating $4 a meal, and if you're eating 3 meals a day, you're eating $12 a day worth of food. And if you're doing $12 a day worth of food over the course of 10 days, that's $120, which means that over the course of 30 days, you would be eating about $360 worth of food. So it depends on exactly how much you eat and how often you eat it to really determine the difference between the affordability of eating at home versus the affordability of eating out. But it is going to always be cheaper to eat at home than it is to eat out, unless, of course, you're trying to eat steak and lobster every day at the house with salmon on the side versus eating rational and realistic meals. Michael says, Uber Eat, you can't afford, especially being young. I know it's convenient. Yeah, they charge them freaking extra money for dang. Well, Hungry Man TV dinners are more expensive. I think it's like the Sara Lee TV dinners. They're like $2 a piece. Hungry Man TV dinners are like $4 a piece. But the Hungry Man TV dinners are like a pound of food, allegedly. But they'll have like 2 pieces of chicken and some potatoes and a dessert in the plate, and that might not be enough for you, But you could also go and get you some Salisbury steaks, or some chicken nuggets or something like that. You can find yourself eating quite a few of those, and that might go a whole lot further. So it really depends. It really depends. Now, the third thing, you have to fight food waste. The average household throws away a shocking amount of food because you buy too much food over a period of time, and not everybody eats it all, and then some of the food goes to waste, and then you have to throw that food away because it wasn't eaten before the food went bad. This is literally the same as throwing your money in the trash. Frugality is going to be about respecting your resources. Meal planning is going to help by ensuring that you only buy what you need. Now, for those of us that are preparing for natural disasters, the non-perishable foods, all the canned goods and stuff, you can buy an abundance of those and leave those in the house in case of an emergency, so that if something happens, you have a surplus of food. But buying stuff that spoils, especially with the way preservatives aren't really working for us, buying stuff that spoils and then leaving it in the fridge or leaving it sitting out, and then it goes bad before you get to it, that is something that you have to change. Which means that what food you buy might be modified by how quickly you get to certain items, right? So getting your meal plan helps you manage this. And it also is going to mean that learning to use what you have before you go and buy something else is going to be one of the most effective ways to maintain this. Rotating out your inventory, eating the older foods first before you buy new foods and put them into the fridge. That slightly wilted celery can be the basis for a soup. Leftover rice becomes fried rice. The bananas that are starting to get a little bit brown makes banana pudding. Use it up. That's that use it up mindset. And this is an old fashioned skill with immense modern value. It's about seeing potential where others see trash. When we used to be in the bedroom, hanging out, reading comic books, playing video games, mom was in the kitchen, taking all the leftovers and putting it all together and making wild stuff like shepherd's pie and all of these other things, where we would still have good food to eat off of whatever was left over, instead of wasting certain foods from the original meal that they were made, so that we don't have to throw away so much stuff. Cooking at home is the natural result of this strategy. It's not about depriving yourself of restaurant quality meals, because you got to understand, people who work at restaurants can cook at home. You just got to buy the ingredients. It's about making intentional decisions. And then if you're going to go to a restaurant, that's a treat that you decided to do rather than a daily default. While you cook most of your meals at the house, you control the ingredients, you control the portion, and you control the cost. That also helps with individuals that have allergies. You might like something that you're allergic to. And the only reason why you're allergic to it is because certain ingredients that is in the food, when it's made by the restaurant, you can't get it taken out before you get access to the food. You're actually able to control that if you're making food at your house. So you're no longer paying a massive premium for someone else's labor. Frugal food habits aren't about eating boring food. They're about creating smart, efficient systems that saves you a ton of money, and as a great side effect, usually leads to a healthier eating. For example, I love boneless spare ribs. I love me some boneless spare ribs. But when I'm craving some boneless spare ribs, instead of me going out to the nearest China Walk and trying to find a place that's going to sell me $25 worth of boneless spare ribs for probably about a pound of ribs, I can actually go and buy 5 or 10 pounds of ribs and make me a bunch of boneless spare ribs for the same $25. I just got to buy the ingredients. And because I cooked it in bulk, I can portion it out for myself where I can have boneless spare ribs 5 or 7 days out of the week instead of getting it from the restaurant that one time. For many people, after they're home, the single biggest expense is going to be transportation. And usually that's going to mean a car. A car feels like a symbol of freedom, but financially, it can be one of the biggest drains on your ability to build wealth. The problem is, most people only think about the monthly payments. That's a dangerously incomplete picture. The true cost of a car is a monster with many heads. There's the payments, sure. There's the insurance, of course. Then there's the gas. Kind of everybody recognizes that part. But then there's the regular maintenance, like oil changes, new tires, sensors in the new cars that we're dealing with these days. That's something that not so many people pay attention to. Then there's going to be the unexpected repairs that are guaranteed to happen at the worst possible time. And then there's going to be the single biggest, most devastating cost of all, the depreciation value of the vehicle. Michael says, bought a pallet of MREs for $2.65 a pack for less than $400 plus 10%. Okay. It is a good idea, guys, for y'all to go out and try to grab yourself a handful of MREs and put them on a shelf somewhere just in case, because I know if anybody who's experienced Hurricane Katrina before or any other natural disaster where the relief came through with FEMA and they started providing you with that, those MREs in substitution to actual foods in your house, you'll find yourself in a situation where those MREs can become useful for you. So grabbing them and holding on to them, because the shelf life on those MREs is pretty long in comparison to the stuff that you have during the day. But When you're not paying $2.65 a pack for MREs, you could pay $2.40 a can for Progresso soup. Right? And you could probably, buy $400 worth of Progresso soups, where all you would need now is like 40 pounds of rice, which you can get like $11 for 20 pounds of rice at Walmart. So $22 for rice, which would have been like $430 worth of food. And you would have had a plethora of your favorite Progresso soups that you can just use a rice cooker, make the rice, and pour the Progresso soup right on top of it, and have the heat from the rice heat up the rest of the meal. You don't even need a microwave. You just need a rice cooker. Crack open a can, pour it over the plate. No, condiments necessary. Look at that. Steven said he's eating a can of Progresso soup right now on break. That's what I'm trying to tell you. We're going to turn to a Progresso soup faster than we're going to turn to an MRE. It's good to grab you some MREs just in case. It's just, that don't change the fact. Hey, look, even if an MRE costs $8 on a store shelf, just because you can get it on a discount for $2.65 per case, doesn't change the fact that you can go and get you some Progresso soup for like 25 or 30 cents cheaper than that. So it really just depends on what you're willing to pay for, because you can get you a can of Progresso soup and all you really need now is a better rice. And sometimes you can eat the Progresso soup straight out of the can, depending on which flavor you're getting. You don't need nothing. You can just crack open a can and just eat the Progresso soup straight out of the can. So you've got the vegetables and the dietary process there, but then also because it's a soup, there's a lot of fluid in there that can actually keep you from being dehydrated. It's a very good survival tactic. It's probably a better survival tactic than an MRE, because cans will survive the Holocaust. When the zombie apocalypse happens, cans are going to survive the Holocaust. It's not post-collapse of America. Progresso soup is still going to be everywhere. Progresso soups can last in a flood. MREs cannot. Just saying. Once an MRE gets wet, that's it. When a can of Progresso soup gets wet, you just dry off the can and crack that bad boy open, and it's still taken care of, vacuum sealed. Back to that depreciation discussion. Depreciation is going to be the silent force that evaporates your money. A new car loses a huge chunk of its value the second that you drive it off the lot, which is an even further depreciation because quite a few other people drove it off the lot. If you bought a brand new car with like 3,000 miles on it, somebody drove 3,000 miles of this vehicle, the value of it is lower than what you're paying for as soon as you get it. And then it's going to keep bleeding value every single day that it's out on the road. A car is not an asset. It can be perceived as a beneficial tool to gain capital. For example, you might call your car an asset because you bought the car and it gets you to and from work. Dollar cost average or opportunity cost, you might have could have bought a cheaper car to still get you to and from work. If you're getting a car, an economy car, and you're using that economy car as an Uber or Lyft car, that might be the vehicle that gets the profits from your business, right? But it's still a liability, which is why it's a tax deduction. So it's not an asset, it's a rapidly depreciating piece of equipment. As an asset is something that's going to put money back into your pocket. A car does the exact opposite. Financing a new car is a triple whammy because you're paying interest to the bank for the privilege of owning something that's losing value at the same time. It's a financial hole that you're paying to dig deeper. The frugal approach is to reframe what a car is going to be for. It is not a status symbol. It is a tool. Its job is to get you from point A to point B safely and reliably. That's it. Every dollar you spend beyond that is for lifestyle, not utility. So the difference between upgrading from a 1980s model Toyota to a 2024 Toyota, or from a 1980s model Toyota to a 2010 Toyota, is like convenience. But then the difference between going from an older model Toyota to a newer model Benz or Bentley, that is luxury lifestyle status. That's not utility. Steven says, I still want a Benz. To be honest, I've wanted a Benz, I've wanted a Maserati, I've wanted a Hummer, the H1 Hummer, the politically incorrect Hummer. I've wanted Subaru and Presnas, you know, the all-wheel drive, 60/40 front-wheel drives, manual transmission. I've wanted all kinds of stuff that I don't buy. You know, I want a Lincoln Continental. You know, I want the car from Entourage. You know, I want a lot of stuff, but I don't get it. I got a 20-year-old car and a 25-year-old car sitting outside, because I have what I need. As long as the motherfucker's still running, I don't see myself getting another one. So I already got two. I'm not buying a third unless I'm getting rid of one of the two that I got, because there's no benefit in buying another one. Oh, you can upgrade. But when I look at the price of the upgrade and I look at the cost of repairs, if the total price cash up front for the car that I'm replacing my car for, even as a used car, is the same amount of money as it would cost me to rebuild one of the cars I have from the ground up, I'm just going to rebuild the car that I have because I already own it. I don't have to finance it. If it costs me $25,000 for a new car and I can put $25,000 into my old car and restore it to factory condition, replace all the bells and whistles and have it factory new, repainted and everything for $25,000, why buy a newer car? Because I can fix some of the smaller things along the way over time by budgeting for car repair. And then after I finish restoring the car, slap a coat of paint on that bad boy. And it will look as good as new, function as good as new. When the car no longer has replacement parts, when they start talking about doing an engine swap, that's when we start talking about saying, well, maybe I should probably just go get me a different car. But if I can find a car from LKQ that has the same motor as my car for $1,000, why would I go buy a newer car for $15,000 when I can engine swap the car that I've been using for the last 20 years and drop a new engine in that bad boy, and it'll last me another 20 years? Got to think about that. The most powerful financial move here is to drive a reliable used car that you own outright, cash up front. So, Steven, if you want to go buy that Benz and you've got the money to buy the Benz cash up front, you want it that bad, go get it. I wouldn't, but you know, that might be the only Benz that you own in your lifetime, because after you finish dealing with that Benz, not because you're not going to be able to afford it in the future, because you realize that I was right and that Benz is a waste of money. The next car you buy after you buy that Benz will be another Toyota. Which ultimately means instead of buying that Benz, you're just going to buy you a more luxurious looking Toyota, which will still be cheaper, because you can get you a luxurious Toyota like a Camry. You can buy you a Lexus. The Lexus is a luxury Toyota, you know, and still have higher quality, reasonable performance, but still the affordability, lower insurance costs. The status symbol of Benz is what you would not get by buying a different type of Toyota. That's really the only thing. So imagine a typical car payment of like $500 a month. That's like $6,000 a year. Now imagine instead of sending that kind of money to the bank, you're putting it into a low cost index fund. Over 10 years, even with modest market returns and the usual ups and downs, the money could grow into a serious pile of cash. The person driving the paid off car, 10 years, a 10-year-old car, and investing the difference isn't just saving $500 a month. They're actively turning a liability into a wealth generating asset. Their net worth is climbing while the person with the brand new SUV, the luxury brand name car, is seeing their money fall every mile they drive. This doesn't mean that everyone has to drive a beater. The key is intentionality. It means buying a less car than you can afford. So that's going to mean prioritizing reliability and total cost of ownership over the brand's prestige. So even if you can afford a Benz, if you bought a Nissan, that would benefit you. Because remember what I told you, you said, well, the Benz might be roughly around about $9,000. A used Benz, roughly around $9,000. Now, you can still go and get you a Nissan Versa, brand new, for about $9,000. So the difference between somebody else's problem that, like I told you before, some of those Benzes had like a $2,000 service charge on them for the oil change and tune-up and everything like that, versus a Nissan Maxima that has no miles on it that you can get an extended warranty on, where the majority of the stuff on a car would be included in the warranty package, which you would buy cash up front with the car. Now you're getting prepaid for, because they're not free, you pay for it in the warranty, prepaid for oil changes and tire rotations and wheel balancing and free vacuum and all this other stuff, free detailing. And you get to take care of your car, where you're a single owner vehicle for the same price. Now, which one do you think is more beneficial to you? The brand name Benz that you had to buy used, or the brand new Nissan Versa that you owned, single owner, probably no miles on it, or just like the first $2,000 to $5,000 test drive miles on it, and you've got a car that will last you 200,000 miles? For me, the latter, Nissan Versa, would be a better buy. So this is going to mean that you got to do your research. And it could also mean exploring alternatives to what you want. For example, can you ride a bike to work? Public transportation. Some people get on scooters. Can you move to a place where you only need one car instead of two? Getting rid of your car payment is like giving yourself a massive raise. It frees up a huge amount of cash flow that you can use to attack debt, supercharge investments, and speed up your journey to financial independence. The frugal choice isn't the flashiest one, but it is the one that buys you freedom. So if investing is the magic of compounding growth working for you, then high interest debt is the tyranny of compounding growth working against you. It's going to be one of the most destructive forces of personal finance. So every dollar that you pay in interest is a dollar that could have been working for you somewhere else, but instead it is working for the bank. Frugality isn't just about spending less. It is going to be about stopping that bleeding. An intentional financial life is going to require an aggressive plan to wipe out high interest debt. So not all debt is created equal. Low interest mortgage is very different from a 25% interest rate on a credit card. And sometimes in a true emergency, debt is going to be unavoidable. But where we're talking about, we're going to be targeting the venomous, wealth-destroying consumer debts, credit cards, personal loans, payday loans, especially payday loans, right? They carry sky-high interest rates that can trap you in a cycle that feels impossible to escape. Making only the minimum payments on a big credit card balance is like trying to shovel your way out of a hole while someone else is dumping dirt back into it twice as fast. So what's the plan? It's going to be two methods. And Michael talked about it before with Steve Jobs' book. Even though Michael didn't read the book to the rest of the podcast, you have that snowball method and that avalanche method. You can read Steve Jobs' book so that you can read the method, but I'm going to tell it to you anyway. The best one to use is really going to depend on your personality. So, as we've mentioned on the show before, the debt avalanche is mathematically the most efficient because you make the minimum payments on all of your debts, then you throw every extra dollar you have on the debt with the absolute highest interest rate. Once that one is gone, you take all of the money that you were paying on it and roll it over into the debt with the next highest interest rate. You create an avalanche of payments that gets bigger, and the bigger ones will wipe out the debts a lot faster. Now, this method is going to save you the most money in interest, not necessarily time. However, personal finance is going to be about behavior patterns, not the math. So for a lot of people, attacking a huge debt can feel like a long, thankless slog. And that's going to be where the snowball method comes from. With the snowball method, you can again make the minimum payment on everything, but instead of focusing on the higher interest rate, you can attack the debt with the smallest balance first. The goal is going to be a quick win. By paying off the small loan, you get a powerful psychological boost, the dopamine hit of paying off a bill completely. You see the progress in your performance. You're going to feel the momentum, and then you take that momentum and the next payment and you roll it into the next smallest balance. As you go along, the snowball of money that you're applying gets bigger and bigger and bigger on the larger debts, which allows for you to remove all of those existential credit cards off of your monthly recurring bills. Now, if you follow my method, in addition to that, after the billing cycle rolls over, if you charged 80% of the card for revolving bills, phone bill, light bill, gas bill, water bill, car insurance kind of bill, then the cash that you would have spent on that for the month, you can roll that into the other credit cards before their billing cycle rolls over, which pays the debt down so that if there's money left over, there's less money left over before the bill is generated. And then you can just pay it down after that. Now, while the snowball method might cost you a little bit more interest over time for many people, it is the more effective strategy because the quick wins provide the motivation to keep going, which is one of the reasons why I tell you guys to invest in dividend paying stocks, because the monthly dividend return that you receive is a positive trigger to convince you to continue reinvesting in yourself, because the more money you put into your brokerage account, the more money you get back every month. The more money you get back every month, the more often you have the capabilities to have the desire to put more money down, right? These are choices that are going to be personal. So if you're a data-driven person, motivated by pure efficiency, the avalanche method might be better for you. If you thrive on momentum and positive feedback, the snowball method is going to be your key to success. He said, tired of them dividend emails. They sending you a lot of emails, ain't you? They telling you every time you check your email, like, shit, I got paid again. I got paid again. I forgot about the stock party you told me about it. Luckily, the stock party last 7 days. When you mentioned it, I just got to go over there and push the button today, right after the show, and make sure that I have it, so that they can give me my stock party before the end of the week. Because they give you like 7 days for the stock party to grab yours, and then after that, it's like 2 weeks before or a week or so before they do another one. So as soon as we find out about a stock party, it's like, let me get in there and get that. And then while I'm in there, I'm looking at how I got paid. So then I'm reallocating funds in different locations. It motivates me to rebalance my portfolio. Whichever method that you guys choose, the principle is going to be the same. You want to attack the debt with focused intensity. Call your credit card companies, ask for lower interest rates. The worst thing they can say is no. Look at balance transfer offers, but you got to read the fine print for that when you're looking for balance transfers. When you get a bonus or a tax refund, you want to resist the urge of spending that. Throw it directly at your debt if you've got a lot of debt when you're paying down the whole debt. If you've got a credit card that's like a probably 90% interest and 10% balance, you want to charge that card off and then just pay down that debt instead of just putting all your tax return on interest. I had a brother who did that, still owes like $8,000 or $10,000 worth of debt because the money he got on his refund was just the interest payment. Bro, charge that card off. You can't afford to pay that bad boy. Charge it off, close it down, and then negotiate a monthly payment plan on the current total balance and just pay that shit down. Right? Frugality is going to demand that you stop paying for your past and start funding your future. Right? Now, we've covered the philosophy, the budget, the big expenses, and the debt. But even when a perfect system exists, there is invisible forces that can sabotage everything. Your own psychology, right? Most money problems aren't math problems, they are behavior problems. We live in a world engineered to exploit our biases and push up towards spending, right? Understanding these psychological traps is going to be the first step to disarming them. Now, for those of you that are still rolling in, make sure that you like and subscribe and mash those reaction buttons, especially those of you that's watching us over on the TikTok side of things. One of the most powerful forces is our desire for instant gratification. Our brains are just wired to prefer a small reward now over a larger reward later. Marketers know this. Limited time offers, flash sales, only 3 left. These are just sale tactics. They're psychological triggers designed to create urgency and scarcity, overriding your rational brain. They push you into an impulsive purchase, which is a decision driven by emotion, not need. Matter of fact, what I do, because I usually buy a lot of things off of Temu. And one of the funniest things is that it'll say that there's a 24-hour countdown clock on whatever this price is. I'll wait 3 weeks before I buy the item. And when I go back to buy the item, more often than not, it's still got a 24-hour clock on it because it was designed to impulse buy. But there are some scenarios where I actually do grab the item that they have the sale on because the item I'm looking for is inside of the budget that I want to get. Like, for example, I bought a weed eater 10 days ago, an electric weed eater. I spent about $45 on it. And I used it to cut down some trees. That's not what it was made for. But it cut down them damn trees. Now, it stopped working, obviously, but it's also warranted. So, contacted the manufacturer. They refunded me my money for it because I showed them a video. I'm like, look, you put the battery in, you push the button, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It looks brand new, right? Because I've only had it for 10 days. They're like, oh, man, don't worry about it. We'll give you your money back. Now, that happened 2 days ago. Today, or no, 2 days, yeah, 2 days ago. And then yesterday, I had talked to them and I got my money back. Today, I had seen on the exact same thing that there was another model of the same one that was supposed to be an upgraded version that actually has a larger battery pack on it than the one that I had, that has more amperage on it than the one that I had, which would be more effective for cutting what I'm trying to cut with. And it was 80 cents more than the refund that they gave me. There was another one that was $10.80 more than the refund that I gave. The difference between the two was that the one that was $10 more had more accessories. I don't need the accessories. I've got the accessories from the one that broke that is compatible with the one I'm getting. So instead of getting the $10.80 one, I got the one that was 80 cents more than the one that I bought because they gave me store credit. I just applied it to that, put down the 80 cents, free shipping, they ship it out, and boom. Within a week, I have a new one that is upgraded from the one that I burnt out cutting down trees. I found value in what I was trying to accomplish versus just impulse buying on something because it says flash sale. All right, well, if it's still around, I'll flash sale it next time around. Steven says only 3 Louis lunch bags left at 5 G's and pop. Boy, if these females wasn't chasing that Chanel because of that girl with the water dance, talking about buying her Chanel, then they probably would be out there trying to get them Louis bags. But 5 G's for a Louis bag, bro. 2 Louis bags is a Nissan Versa. I'm not trying to do that. Two bags. What you gonna put in them bags? The Louis bag ain't even big enough to fit a laptop in. Again, status symbol. They tripping. But some of these females like, oh, there's only 3 of them left, 5 of them left. Man, I need to go get one. No, I'm gonna have my man go get it for me. If he loves me, he'll buy me a Louis bag while it's on sale. Then there's the massive influence of social comparison. So social media has put social comparisons on steroids. Every time you scroll, you see curated highlight reels of other people's lives, their exotic vacations, new cars, perfect homes. This creates a constant low-grade pressure to keep up and can lead to a lifestyle inflation where you spend more, not because you need change, but because you desire where other people influenced you because you saw what they had and what they were doing online. So you changed your personal preferences specifically because you seen what somebody else had. You didn't want it till you seen them with it. So you clearly don't need it. So how do you fight back against that? Willpower alone is going to be a weak defense. The best strategy is to design an environment and create a system that makes good decisions easier. It's about building friction between you and impulsive spending. One of our simplest, most effective tricks is the 24-hour rule, or for bigger purchases, a 72-hour rule, 14-day rule, 30-day rule. If you see something non-essential that you want, you're not allowed to buy it right away. You want to put it on a list and you want to wait at least 24 hours. If you can wait on average a couple of weeks before you buy something and you still waste a bunch of money, you might want to wait a month before you go and get it. This little cool off period is incredibly powerful. It lets the emotional rush fade and your rational brain take over. After 24 hours or a reasonable period of time has passed beyond 24 hours, you ask yourself, do I really need this item? Where will I put this item? How often will I use this item? What goal am I sacrificing to buy this item? More often than not, the desire is completely vanished. Another great technique is to simply make spending harder. Remove your saved credit card information from all online stores, unsubscribe from marketing emails, delete shopping apps from your phone. For in-person shopping, try using cash. If you must go with a credit card, use a limited prepaid credit card. Get rid of your Google Pay, your Apple Pay. Physically handing over dollar bills creates a stronger pain of paying than just tapping a card. But finding where your money is accessible in order for you to make that payment is harder than just bioprint and auto pay or tap to pay, right? And it makes you more mindful of each transaction. And always get your receipt. Because when you look at the mountain of receipts that you have at the end of every day or at the end of every week, you start realizing I'm spending a shit ton of money. Ultimately, the goal is to shift from being a passive consumer, constantly reacting to the triggers, to being an intentional actor. You can't control the billions spent in market, but you can control your exposure to it. You can't stop others from posting online, but you can curate your feed by building a fortress of good habits and intentional friction. You can protect your financial goals from the constant assault of impulse and social pressures. Here's another trick that I usually do. I find the item, I take a screenshot of it, or I take a link, a URL link from the item, and I send it to myself in a text message. And then I get off the site. Now, after I do that, if I really want it a month from now, I'll go back to the text message, click the link, and if that link is still functioning, I can go and buy that item. If I want it and the link isn't functioning, I don't buy the item because it's no longer accessible. If I really want it, then I'll research where else to go and find it, and then I'll go and buy the item. But that requires intentional purchasing. I'm no longer purchasing on impulse. And I'm able to satisfy my impulsive desire to window shop by grabbing things, putting it into the cart, never purchasing it, grabbing things, screenshotting it, sending a link to myself, never purchasing it. And then when I really, really want something or really, really need something, I actually effectively buy the things intentionally that I need. Like the weed eater is to cut over an acre of property. Makes sense to buy it instead of paying somebody $250 a month to come and cut it. $45, $50 for me to do it myself every few days versus paying somebody. You start looking at over the course of 10 months, it's like $2,500 versus $50. The difference is, you're saving a ton of money. You have to design the systems where doing the right thing is the path to least resistance. For many, the conversation about frugality starts and ends with cutting the costs. And while that's a huge part of the equation, it is only half the story. Real financial acceleration happens when you pair aggressive cost cutting with intentional income expansion. So you want to think only about savings that can lead to a scarcity mindset. But when you combine savings with earnings, you unlock a powerful synergy that can dramatically shorten your path to financial freedom. So reducing your expenses is going to create a gap between what you earn and what you spend. Now, let's say you manage to free up an extra $500 a month. That's going to be amazing. That's an extra $6,000 a year that you can now build wealth with. But what if on top of that, you also found a way to increase your income by $500 a month? Now you have a surplus of $1,000 a month or $12,000 a year. You doubled your savings rate, not by pinching more pennies, but by expanding your capacity. This is going to be the difference between playing defense and playing both defense and offense. Income expansion doesn't have to mean a second full-time job. It's about thinking creatively and looking for ways to monetize your existing skills, assets, and your time. So you want to think of it as stacking micro income streams. So you want to start with assets that you already have. Got a spare room? Rent it out on Airbnb. Find at least one weekend a month that you can bring in a few $100s. Have a car that's just sitting in the driveway. Car share services that let you rent out your car. These platforms, like Thrift, will allow you to turn a dormant liability into a cash flow asset. Next, you want to look at your skills. What are you good at? What do people ask you for help with on a regular basis? If you're organized, you could offer a service as a virtual assistant, proficient in particular software. You could tutor people, have a knack for writing, graphic design, or video editing. Freelance platforms are full of clients looking for these exact same skills. The key is to realize that the skills that you use in your 9 to 5 job have value to others outside of that same job. So you can also create assets that generate income more passively over time. That could mean selling digital products like ebooks or templates, or like I told Steven, sell your notes from college on a website that allows other students to go buy notes for the courses that you take. It could also mean starting up a YouTube channel like I did on topics that you love and monetize that. These paths take a lot of upfront work, but they have the potential to create income streams that aren't directly tied to the hours that you put in. And this is so important because it reframes frugality away from being purely restrictive. Because when you pair cost cutting with income growth, the message isn't just spend less, it becomes first stop wasting and free up capital, then build new income streams to expand your resources, and then finally point all of the surplus, the money saved, the money earned, towards building your wealth. This two-pronged attack is what separates slow, clogged progress from exponential growth. It moves you from a mindset of scarcity to one of abundance and opportunities. And we've reached the most important part of this entire system, which is the end game. This is going to be the step that turns frugality from a simple money-saving hobby into a life-altering wealth-building machine. The whole point of frugality isn't just to have lower credit card bills. The purpose is capital redeployment. It's taking the money that you freed up and putting it to work for you. Money sitting idle sitting idle in the checking account is losing purchasing power to inflation every single day. So sure, a high yield savings account might help you keep the pace, but it's not a wealth building engine. The goal of all of the previous steps, which was budgeting, expense cutting, and debt elimination, is to generate a surplus. The goal of this step is to give that surplus a job, and its most important job is to go out and create more money for you, which reduces your requirement to make money for yourself. It's the essence of investing. The cycle is simple but incredibly profound. Spend less than you earn, use the surplus to buy assets. Those assets generate returns or grow in value, reinvest those returns, and buy even more assets. Repeat. This is the cycle that builds fortunes. It's compounding in action. And for most people starting out, the most accessible assets are in stock markets through low-cost diversified index funds. An index fund lets you own a tiny piece of 100 or even thousands of the world's biggest companies. You're not trying to pick winners. You're just betting on the long-term growth of the global economy. Over the long haul, history has shown that this has been incredibly effective strategies. And you can also go to our membership and you can look at I think we got 22 out of the 54 stocks that we're following it year over year that actually produces upward of 15% return on investment, where you can actually put a lot of money down to get a hell of a lot more money back year over year to aid you with your expansion and growth. So that $500 a month that you freed up, that money should be automatically transferred every single month into a retirement account like a 401k or a Roth IRA and invested. Or if you put it into your Stash App account and you utilize that money to manually invest in specific niche stocks that'll grow you some money. The money you save up now is going to be your employer or employees that's going to be working for you 24 hours a day to earn you more money. But reinvestments isn't just about stocks. The surplus could be a down payment on a rental property. It could be investing back into your own side hustle to grow it faster. It could be investing in yourself through education that increases your primary earning power. The key is that the money is not just spent, it is deployed into something that will create more value in the future, which is why I can't afford it. Doesn't mean that I don't have the money to pay for it. I can't afford it. It's more to the magnitude of I cannot afford to waste this money on something that doesn't benefit me, right? This is the ultimate answer to why be frugal. You're not skipping a dinner out of you're not skipping a dinner out just for the sake of doing it. You're trading that $50 dinner today for an invested $50 that over 30 years could grow to be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars tomorrow. And you are trading a fleeting moment of satisfaction today for a lifetime of financial security tomorrow. Steven says, Stash has been keeping my dividends locked in my personal portfolio lately. Had that ever happened to you? I might change platforms. No. So what happens is that the dividends has a clearing time frame. So it comes in. So here's the thing. There's usually a 24 to 48 hour window from the time you sell to the time that you can reuse. You've been recently doing the drip thing where it automatically puts the money back up. But the money, now you're not doing the drip. It comes to your account. It has a window of time that is legally required before the money can be reinvested. But to deposit it into your savings account, the money has to no longer be, because they sometimes advance you the money to keep you investing, and the money hasn't actually been released yet. It's usually 3 to 5 business days for the money to actually be moved out of the app to another location. But if you're selling it off of one thing and putting it into another, they will advance you the money while the transaction is done. They will advance you the money before the money clears so that you can reinvest it into something else because it's staying on the platform. So if you're trying to withdraw dividends from the Stash app to your personal account, you just have to leave it there for a few more days, and then it's going to be made available for you to deposit that. They don't do long holds, but if you're not putting it back into the portfolio, if you're trying to put it into your pocket, it is going to take a few more days than what it would for you to put it right back into an investment portfolio, if that makes sense. Because just like when you're moving money to your account, it takes 3 to 5 days for them to get it. But because you set up the transfer on their app, they automatically put the money on your account because they advanced you the money while the transaction is still being processed so that you can put the money onto the platform. Again, short-term gratification, the convenience of instantly being able to do what we want to do with the money is what we look for. And then when we have to wait, we're unsatisfied. And that waiting forces us to impulse and make another decision. But the true transition of money is 5 to 7 business days, which is sometimes 2 weeks. That's the real time movement of money from one place to another. So selling money from one business is supposed to take 5 to 7 business days, and then putting the money on another business is supposed to take 5 to 7 business days, but it's only taking you 30 seconds to a minute because you click a button and then you click another button, and that convenience of moving it from one stock to the next is what you've gotten used to. But it has to settle before you can take it off of the platform. And settling means you just got to wait a few more days and then just take it off. But it's business days is the settling rate. It's not. So if you was to Friday say, okay, I sold a stock on Thursday, it ain't even going to clear till Monday or Tuesday, and then it'll be able to be reinvested. But if you're trying to deposit it into your savings account, it might not be available for deposit till next week Thursday because you sold it yesterday. So it's not locking your money in your portfolio. It is just not clearing as quickly as you would like because of weekends and holidays, and you're doing transactions every day of the week or sporadically overnight, and you're used to it functioning on a quick basis. And now what you're trying to do, you thought was instantaneous, and it's not. withdrawing money from the platform is still going to take the same quantity of time that it would take to withdraw it from any other platform. The only difference is that this one has less fees than others because others charge you by the transaction, and this one has a flat rate for unlimited transactions. And over the year, they give you back in stock parties about the same amount of money that you put on the annual membership. So you get a return on your investment by getting back those stocks. And whether you sell them or not, you're getting like $32 a year or $35 a year worth of stocks from them for free after you pay them the $32 a year for the membership. The same way if you were paying $179 a year for the upgraded version in order to do the IRA, where they would give you 3% back on $7,500. If you was putting a full $7,500 on, you would be getting $225 back on $179 a year investment opportunity. So what you gave them versus what they give you back, they're giving you back more than what you give them. But even still, when you're trying to take the money off, you have to let it settle, don't reinvest it, and then it's going to tell you now you can deposit it into your account. This is going to be why I tell you guys, when you're planning on building your finances around, or building your spending habits around your brokerage account, you have to look at how long it takes to release the money, because every platform is going to have a few weeks to release the money. And when you're dealing with larger quantities of money, it might be a lot more weeks than you think. So it's not going to be a 3-day turnaround. It's never going to be a 3-day turnaround, no matter what platform you use. It's never going to be a 3-day turnaround to sell a stock and then deposit the money from the stock to your personal bank account. It's never going to be a 3-day turnaround. It's a 3-day turnaround just to sell the damn stock. It's going to be another 3 to 5 day turnaround to put it into your personal bank account, which is like a week to 2 weeks to get your money from a standard stock, which is why they say emergency funds is better to have in cash in the bank account, because if you need the money within the next 3 days, instead of trying to fight to get it off your brokerage account, which might take 2 or 3 weeks, you can actually get it from your savings account. In a lot of cases, when you're talking about moving a few $100,000 at a time, but if you're trying to take like $500 or something like that, you can get that in less than a week, but it's not going to be in a 3-day period of time. It's not going to happen in 3 days, especially Saturday and Sunday is not counted in the business days that the transaction occurs. And today is Friday night. So you're not going to be able to see nothing until like Wednesday as far as making a deposit. Now, if your bank does the same thing that your brokerage account does, which is advance the money because they know it's coming, because they move money back and forth with one another on a regular basis, then you might put the money in on Wednesday and then see the money on Thursday and not have to wait until the following Monday. But if your bank is stagnant about releasing the money, then after you get the money dropped, it's still going to be a 3-day turnaround, 3 business day turnaround. And that's just every platform. That's every platform. The only difference between this platform and some other platforms is that some other platforms will also charge you a fee to withdraw the money from the account. They'll do it through Stripe, and Stripe is going to charge you a fee to move money. Soon as they say money is being moved through Stripe, you're like, nope. With Stash App, it's direct deposit to your bank account, ACH transaction, which very few platforms are doing that. A lot of platforms are switching to a third party to move the money, like Stripe, and you have to pay a 3% fee to move your money. And you shouldn't have to pay a 3% fee. But without this final step, frugality is going to be incomplete. So it's going to be like revving a powerful engine while the car is still in neutral. You're making a lot of noise, but you're not going anywhere. So reinvestments puts that car into gear. It connects all of your hard work to the engine of compounding growth and start moving you faster and faster towards a future where your money works for you so that you don't have to. And that's why I told you guys pay quite a few months in advance, because if it takes you 2 or 3 weeks to get your money out of the brokerage account, you have all your bills paid up for the month of September in August. So if your money gets released on the 1st, your bills were already paid. Now you can start paying bills for October. So let's draw a final line in the sand between being frugal and being cheap, because this distinction is everything. Cheapness is a mindset of scarcity. It comes from a place of fear. A cheap person focuses only on price. They'll buy a poorly made shoe because they are on clearance, even though they'll fall apart in about 6 months. and cost more in the long run because you're consistently replacing them. Cheapness saves money now at the expense of your future self later. Frugality is the mindset of abundance and resourcefulness. It's going to come from a place of confidence and control. A frugal person focuses on value. They'll research and buy the high quality winter coat that costs more upfront, knowing that it'll last a decade and be a better long-term value. They see spending as a tool to be used strategically. Like I bought like what $13,000 worth of suits in 2013 that I still have in 2026. It was a lot of money back then, upfront cost that's still benefiting me today. The reason this matters is that a lifestyle built on deprivation isn't sustainable. So we aren't wired for constant self-denial. Eventually you'll burn out. You'll get tired of feeling restricted and rebel against yourself, often by binge spending in a way that undoes all of your hard work. It's a crash diet. It never lasts. Frugality, on the other hand, is a lifelong practice because it's not about deprivation. It is about consciously deciding what you value most and then ruthlessly cutting costs everywhere else to free up resources for those top priorities that you would prefer to have. A frugal person might not eat out often, but when they do, they might go to an incredible restaurant for an unforgettable experience, paid for in cash from their unforgettable experience fund. You might go to that 5-star restaurant for a $500 meal once a season instead of spending $50 a night on takeout, where you're eating fast food, 1- and 2-star restaurants, hole in the wall, no place to sit, standing room only, always on the go. The difference in experiences is that when you do spend to eat out, you're eating out with quality. Then you can do it guilt-free because you know that you've saved hundreds by not wasting the money on things that you don't actually benefit from, things that don't even bring you joy. Frugality is not about saying no. It is about having the power and the resources to say a wholehearted, enthusiastic yes to the things that actually matter most to you. So you trade mindless consumption for mindful allocations. You trade a little convenience for a huge amount of control. You trade the fleeting buzz of an impulse buy for the deep lasting security of growing net worth. It's not about living a small life. It's about building a bigger future. So this isn't about what you're giving up. It's going to be about what you're gaining from it. You're gaining control in a world that wants you to be reactive. You are gaining peace of mind in a world that thrives on financial anxiety. And you are gaining freedom, the freedom to leave a job that you hate, to withstand an emergency, to pursue your passion, and to live life on your own terms. Frugality isn't about being cheap. It's going to be the most intentional, direct path to a life of wealth, choice, and absolute freedom. So, all that being said, we got a lot of stuff coming up for y'all for the rest of the week. Make sure that you guys hit those notification buttons. I should be putting Monday night's show up tomorrow evening, Saturday evening, at the very least Sunday evening. So make sure that you double check and hit the notification button for that one when that one comes up. The rest of the month is still up there. Look forward, because we still have a lot of the shows all of September, and we're starting to put up October right now. So by the beginning of September, we should have all of October up there as well, with the exception of Mondays, because I do Mondays the weekend before so that I can give you up-to-the-date information on the way things are going in politics and how that's impacting your money and following along with all of the trends. So with that being said, I'm going to start off by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. And fellas, I give you this information to make you guys higher value men, not only by improving your financial skills, but also by improving your decision-making skills. And ladies, while this is the Male Driven Podcast from the male's perspective, you too can make yourself a higher value individual by finding the things in your life that are inside of your control and proactively putting forth the effort to change and improve those things, then navigating around things that are outside of your control. Then I tell everybody that y'all can pay attention to your 20 or 30-year plans, reverse engineer that to what you need to do today to accomplish those plans. And then ladies, y'all can take care of keeping your eyes and ears open with finding the right suitor that has the right potential and characteristics, drive, ambition, dedication, admiration, motivation, and integrity to fulfill his goals. And then see how his goals meshes with your goals, because if y'all have similar long-term satisfaction goals, y'all can potentially conquer those goals together. I tell everybody that two people can make it to $1 million faster than one. It requires you both to have the same or similar financial values, because if one person is living off of short-term gratification, YOLO, fear of missing out, and someone else is living on long-term satisfaction where you're building for retirement, every impulsive buy in the present takes away from your long-term satisfaction in the future. So you have to be on the same page about these things. Otherwise, you guys won't succeed. So with that being said, special shout out to Steven, OG Kicks, Michael, FX Trader, Aztec, Unc Andy, and Joe Jack. For those of you that run through on a regular basis, I really appreciate you guys falling in from the membership on YouTube side of things. I want to thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. And for those of you that are watching us on TikTok,
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground.